Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare.
In this week's deep dive episode, I wanted to share my Schecter Guitar Research C1 Silver Mountain in Toxic Venom. I feel like I had to do 8 takes to get that, what you just heard. This is a guitar I bought for myself because I wanted it for a particular reason, and every time I play a Schecter guitar, it's like I'm reminded that these guitars are as good as anything that's in the market, almost at any price point when it comes to quality. The reason I picked this finish was because it reminds me of the Matrix, and I think that's kind of cool. And it definitely, for some reason, reminds me of those Joe Satriani guitars they did in the early 90s where it looked like a jungle. One of my buddies says it looks like weeds. But it also comes in a silver and a red finish, which I'll put screenshots of. So let's get the specifications out of the way. First, we have a mahogany body with a mahogany neck that is set through. Set through means that they're setting the neck in, they're gluing the neck in longer and deeper than a normal set neck because it's about 6 inches deep at least, and that way it's at least under the first pickup. This is really important. They have to kind of set the neck in a little deeper because they're going to round it to make it look like a neck through. Now, Schecter does have neck through models. This is not one. This is just called set through to make it look like a neck through. But of course, like I said, I just want you to know it's a little deeper set than a set neck. You have an ebony fretboard with 24 jumbo stainless steel frets. Stainless steel frets are a really cool feature. It's one of the reasons I wanted this guitar, but more importantly, having the jumbos, not medium jumbos, another feature that was nice. Ebony fretboard with locking tuning keys, Graphtec nut, hip shot bridge that's hardtail, and 2 USA-made Schecter custom pickups, which we'll discuss in the geeky stuff. Volume, tone with a 3-way switch and a coil split. No fancy maple cap. Of course, the pickups are direct mounted, which is a feature I like. Some players don't like that. I love it. I think it looks cleaner, which is what I like. It doesn't come with a case or gig bag, and this one streets for about $1,200, and I got it for less than that because I asked Sweetwater if they give me 10% off, and they did. This has aluminum dots that are extra large on the sides. We're gonna go ahead and let's dive into the geeky stuff. Let's learn more about this guitar, and then let's check out the sounds, and then I'll give you some final thoughts on it. Let's get into this guitar. First, I just wanna say we tuned up the guitar, so let's go ahead and check the neck relief. So the first thing we want to do is decide the scale length. It is 25.5 inches scale length, and the neck relief on this is absolutely perfect. I love this. Let's check the action, and we are at 1.25 millimeters. Wow. That's really low. Just for reference, that is 0.05, much lower than what you see normally shipped from a manufacturer. You'll see 2 millimeters. Checking the intonation, it was pretty good. It didn't really need much adjustment at all, if any. If you guys are curious on how to do that, I have a video and I'll put a link down in the description, how you can quickly and easily intonate your guitar. Looking at the nut, you can see they did really good work. This is a Graphtec nut, so it probably came pre-slotted for them. We're gonna check 2 things. First, let's see how well they cut the slots. Pushing down on the 3rd fret, go ahead and tap on the 1st fret, and what you want is 0 to no play between the string and the fret, and you can see, I mean, it's almost right on that fret. That is beautiful. It's fantastic, actually. And the next thing we're gonna check is the sides. And you can see here, you can see a little bit of a gap. That's just a little bit right there. That's where you can see the shelf where this sits in. And if you look on the other side, you can see the line. Now, this is an aesthetic thing. There's nothing wrong with the guitar, but sometimes players don't like to see any marks or things like that. When I restring the guitar next, I could pop this off and just make sure to paint that with a little black paint. If that line bothers you, try to get a good look at it. There you go. You can see it's just a little line. You can also see some of the tooling marks on the nut. Maybe that could have been addressed. A cool little feature here is the truss rod cover is this carbon fiber looking material. This isn't, I don't think it's carbon fiber. I think this is plastic and they just made it look like that way. Something to point out is the back of the guitar also has that. It looks great. A nice clean work in there. This, as I always point out in all these videos, this white stuff is buffing compound. When they buff this, they just don't go in and clean it all up inside. It's real common with a lot of guitar manufacturers. And for reference, this is a dual action truss rod. A dual action truss rod really makes a straight neck a easy possibility for a guitar. So I'm confirming right now, these are jumbo frets as they stated. So these are really tall frets, and these are not jumbo wide, but they are pretty wide and they are stainless steel. This is important because when you do jumbo frets, you're really going to have problems if the neck shrinks. What I love about jumbo frets is when you do bends, you can't really touch the fretboard. So that's why you would want a jumbo fret. Let's check these frets.
When checking high frets, you can use a fret rocker, a credit card, or you can just play each individual note and listen for which ones are buzzing or making dead notes. So absolutely no high frets. That's beautiful. Let's go ahead and check the friction test. We're just going to go ahead and kind of bend the strings, like do vibrato on the strings. These obviously feel fantastic, like stainless steel frets should. Fantastic. So I love the frets. Okay, let's do a sock test. That's where we take a nylon sock and we try to see how the sides of the frets feel. And these feel pretty good. You can see there's a couple little teeny marks on there. Definitely a 4.5 out of 5. Let's go ahead and do the bass side. So for the bass side, let's go ahead and try that. Oh, where? So that's even better. No marks. That's a 5 out of 5. So a 4 to 4.5 on the treble side, 5 out of 5 on the bass side. Here's a new feature on the channel. We're gonna do what's called the cheese grater test with the sock, and we're gonna see how this feels. And a lot of time people ask if it feels comfortable on your palm right there, and you can see, I don't have to really show you. We obviously have a problem. So what are we gonna do? On this particular guitar, what we have is the neck is straight, we have the action is perfect, we have no buzzing, and the bridge is adjusted so we cannot raise the bridge any more than we are now. I mean, if you want the action a little higher, you could. So this is the culprit, of course, is that these screws are sticking up right there. So there are two fixes for this. First, you can take them out, use a Dremel, and cut them down if you want. However, you can also go to a website that I use. It's called monsterbolts.com, and you can get all kinds of different sizes of those particular screws, whether you want them in chrome or if you need black, and they make it pretty easy. For this particular guitar, I'm gonna go with short screws, and believe it or not, we're gonna use the Fender ones. This should be the correct size for this hip shot bridge. Let's go ahead and check. So to change these out is pretty simple. We're gonna go ahead and just take one out at a time. For reference, that's the difference, okay? And I just set it again to the height it was at. You can measure this if you'd like, or you can eyeball it and then do the next one. And to give you a reference, a set costs a little under $2, and they sell other things you might need, so it helps because the shipping is somewhere between $6 and $10.
Now that we've changed those out and they're not protruding anymore, let's go ahead and try the Swiss cheese test now. Look at that. So this bridge feels great. It's real smooth on the sides. Look at that. Perfect. Look at that. So that's how we want it, so that's how you fix it. Right now is a perfect time to talk about our sponsor, Skillshare.
Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills.
Not only was I able to take a class on lighting, I was able to take a class on recording, and one of the things I really enjoyed is that they have the classes set by time. If you have 15 minutes to spare, that was a big deal for me because sometimes I was thinking when I was sitting around going, I got 15 minutes, let's learn something real quick. One of the instructors I really enjoyed was Chris Brooker, and I really like how he broke things down, but more importantly, I like that I could go to sections as I was setting up some new recording ideas.
The first 1,000 people to use the link down below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare.
So let's take a look at the guitar itself. So this is a mahogany body with a mahogany neck. Like we said, it was a set through, and if we were gonna kind of look at it, you gotta understand that the body probably comes up like here, goes down here across. So this is the body right here. This is the neck, probably cuts in right there, and the neck would set in right here. See, I know it's hard to see that line, but there it is. And then it probably goes back about that far, so it sets in. Then up here, we don't know if there's a scarf joint because I can't see it, or this is a multi-piece neck, we just don't know, but we do have a volute right here. Here you can see that it's crafted in South Korea. Looking at the W right here means it's coming out of the World Manufacturing Factory in Korea. There's also a factory in Korea that's amazing called Mir, and that's where you see stuff like Reverb come from. Locking keys, they're labeled as Schecter, and they feel pretty good. We have a string through body construction, goes right through there in these furrows, and they are recessed perfectly so that they feel great. The other thing to mention is that this backplate is also recessed and set in perfectly.
And something to note, I just want to talk about this finish. It's really cool. If you can't tell, it's metallic. It looks really cool. This is a polyurethane finish, so it's very hard. It's going to stay shiny for a long time. Let's get some neck measurements going here. And we have 42.13 millimeters at the nut, which is 1.658. And at the 12th fret, we have 53.49 or 2.106. Thickness at the first fret is 21.74 millimeters or 0.856. The 12th fret is 0.879 or 22.34 millimeters. Looking at the neck shape, we have a very modern C carve here, and then on the 12th fret, we also have the modern C. Modern C just means it's only a C shape, but it's smaller. You know, kind of think of it as post-80s small necks where the C shape's a little bit more aggressive, feels really nice. This isn't a thin neck by any means, but it's not a chunky neck. It's right in the middle, a little bit thinner than like a Made in Mexico Strat. Looking at the fretboard edges, these are lightly rolled. When I say lightly, they feel smooth and rounded to the touch. They're not overly rounded like vintage, but they're not harsh or sharp. They feel good to the hands. That's a nice quality feature as well on this ebony fretboard. And again, these are abalone inlays. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the handshake. That's where we grab a guitar by the neck meets the body to see how it feels. And this, of course, feels like it's carved for your hand. Feels perfect. You can get to everything right there. It's really comfortable, and especially the guitar being light and balanced, feels really good.
Speaking of light, this guitar came in at 6.92 pounds.
Okay, so let's go ahead and check this paint. What we want to do is just stick the probe anywhere, these 2 points, and there you go. We should get conductivity, which we do. And there you go. So this is shielding paint, and you can see it comes up on the edge, touches the foil back. So that's obviously keeping everything nice and quiet from getting outside interference. Looking inside, we have a 500K made in Korea potentiometer for the volume pot. We have a 3-way mechanical blade switch, another 500K made in Korea potentiometer right here. We have a 500K push-pull pot right here with a capacitor for the tone control. Everything's done really nicely and neatly done, zip tied up. So let's take a look at this pickup. Now the first thing I want to point out is that this is also shielded. But if you look, you can see spots where they didn't get the shielding paint everywhere. This is why more and more we're seeing on the channel that companies are painting the shielding paint in the cavities of the guitars and then sending them to paint and having the paint department paint over. It's because a lot of times it's really hard to brush this shielding paint over slick polyurethane finishes like this, and that's why it's not completely covered. Is that a problem? No, but it's just easier to do it the way the other manufacturers are doing it. Pickup wise, what do we show here? We look in the back, Schecter Guitar Research, Sonic Seducer is the name of the pickup, neck, proudly built in Sun Valley, California. So now what I want to do is check the pickups. The bridge pickup is reading at 11.88, and the neck pickup is reading at 8.29 or 28. So that's your resistance right there. The bridge pickup is reading at 4.31 for inductance, and the neck pickup is reading at 3.37 for inductance. So now that we've done the geeky stuff, let's check out the sound samples. For the clean sounds, I'm gonna run it through a Fender 65 Deluxe Tonemaster. If you're not familiar with that amp is a digital version of the 65 Deluxe. I have both versions of those amps, and I have a detailed video. That video's got a lot of views, and it's called 10 Reasons Why You Shouldn't Buy the Tonemaster, and of course, 10 Reasons to Buy the Tonemaster. So we're gonna be running that for clean, so here we go. Oh, okay, this guitar has tons of articulation, and that's probably because the stainless steel frets matched with the graphite nut, matched with this hip shot bridge, and of course these pickups, which have large slugs, I shouldn't say slugs, these Allen screws are huge, oversized, and of course the pickups are overwound, and so all of that is contributing to a guitar that's just out there. I mean, it's out there. It's so let's go to the middle pickup, or I should say middle pickup, sorry. Let's go to the bridge.
Very bright. And when I say it's very bright, and I've adjusted the pickups already, so this is important to mention that I've adjusted the pickups to my taste, and even doing that, the most I can do, I cannot get these low strings to come out as defined and as big as the high strings. I feel like every chord I'm strumming here is just the high string. It's instead of hearing the all 6 strings come across when I'm doing the pick, I really just hear those high strings. That's a really common thing with pickups, especially in the bridge, where they will kind of just emphasize a frequency, and this one is definitely emphasizing the highs, which is going to do great if you're down tuning and playing distortion, because now you won't have muddy, chunky chords, and we'll demo that in a second too. So there is a plus to this, so obviously that pickup would be definitely suited for that. Okay, tone control. This tone control is also very strange because if I'll just play something here, hold on. So when I turn it back quarter turn, you hear a slight difference. Slight difference the next quarter turn. And then that last bit, it just goes dark. And I'm gonna do it backwards, you can really hear it. Here's a tone control all the way back. That was me barely turning it. I'd say it's not even 10% of the travel. So this has a very linear kind of feel to the pot, the potentiometer, where basically you travel, you're hearing a very little difference, very subtle, and then all of a sudden happens at the end. There's a reason why you'd want that, because a lot of players sometimes don't like it to be really tapered off and dramatic at the beginning, or across, I should say, the equal travel of the potentiometer. In this case, this is for someone who feels like, you know, you just kind of roll it halfway, get very little out of difference. Again, here's the full forward on the tone control. That's halfway. You have to go halfway to hear pretty much a difference. Actually, that wasn't even halfway, that was 3/4 the way. At halfway, you don't hear any difference. And then it just kind of happens. So I just want to be clear, that is not the capacitor. The capacitor is not causing that situation. It's definitely a potentiometer they're using, the style of one that they use. So you can swap that out for like a tapered one. And I think that'd be a maybe different kind of feel. Okay, back to the neck. Now let's do coil split. All right, so we're coil splitting the neck pickup. Let's give a reference to that. Here's the full humbucker. Now, because the pickups are high output, they do well as coil split. My experience is that the higher output pickups do always really well as coil split because of the fact that you're cutting the sound by half, and because it's so loud, it kind of sits in the real single coil range or closer to it. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, I actually like this. With the tone control backed off a little bit. To me, it smooths out the note versus all the way forward. And a lot of players don't use a tone control, and that's okay, but this is, I always take a point in these videos to explain some of the logic of players, especially setting up so many thousands of guitar players' guitars over the years, and why they ask what they did from me. And I noticed that a lot of times players who are heavy on the tone control, in other words, they use the tone control a lot, what they're really trying to do is not make the guitar dark and muffly. That's not what they're doing. So when some players say, I don't use a tone control, and some players say, I use it all the time, what I've really learned is a lot of players that use tone controls, they're trying to kind of mellow out the sound a little bit and make it not so bright. But a lot of players are after this really subtle thing, and that is, if I'm going to play this riff, and it's kind of dramatic, but you'll get the point. You can feel or you can hear the pick, what I call chirp. I'm being dramatic because I want you to hear it. It's almost like the chirp is the pick, that you actually hear the pick and the note. A lot of times players will use the tone control to take the chirp out.
Now, again, you're going to do that with your playing, of course, too. You're going to soften your playing at your pick attack. But the reason why you do that is because even though I'm going to do the same thing, now this is the tone control full forward, and I'm going to soften my playing. You can see, you can still kind of hear a little bit of it. I'm going to calm it down a little bit more. I can't. So where... So again, you're just trying to soften up that pick attack. So sometimes the tone control is great for softening the pick attack. And I think a lot of it is your technique over the sound. You could probably do most of it with your technique. But I think sometimes, you know, players tend to critique their picking technique with their ear. So they want to hear a certain thing come out of the amplifier, and therefore it helps with the technique. That's how I am, by the way. I'm wired that way. If you give me a certain sound and tell me to use a certain technique, I have trouble connecting them. I kind of need the sound and the technique to kind of be in alignment with each other. Okay, let's coil split the middle position. That's nice. I mean, that's jangly. That's great. Bridge. That's really great. I have the tone control full forward to it. For a second, I almost doubted myself because it doesn't sound nearly as harsh and as bright. There you go. Okay. So we covered that. Let's go to the overdrives. I'm going to switch amplifiers. I'm actually going to switch to an Engl Fireball 25, and I added some delay and reverb using a NUX Atlantic delay and reverb pedal. And let's go ahead and just play. Normally, I don't use the coil split on the high gain settings, but I want to show you this bridge pickup in the coil split. This sounds really good to me. This is tone control full forward, bridge pickup, coil split, running through the Engl. Here we go. And of course, I should do the neck pickup coil split. They add this, the coil splitting on this guitar with this amp adds a percussion and kind of vibe. So what are my final thoughts on this guitar? Well, the interesting thing is I've always been a huge Schecter fan since the very first time I walked into a Guitar Center and picked one up in the early 2000s. And I remember thinking, like, what is this guitar? It's so amazing for the price. And I don't think that feeling's ever stopped. I mean, they are a lot more expensive now than they've ever been. And even now, you look at what you're getting for features and the quality, and they have a brand power. I mean, they're kind of like, Schecter, I think, is kind of funny. They've created a brand where I definitely think
yeah, you can, a lot of players think they're more metal based, metal playing based, and that's probably accurate. But as a whole, I think Schecter just means quality. And I think this guitar is a perfect example of that. The finish was great, the guitar looks great, the features are fantastic. The price point is as competitive as you can get in that arena. I don't think the curve between how good the Schecter is and how good the best guitars I've ever owned are is more than just this much of a gap. It's very, very small. So, you know, take for that what you will. You know, what's great about a video like this is Schecter didn't send the guitar out. No one sponsored it. Like I said, I just bought the guitar. It's my personal guitar. Obviously, I'm going to keep it. The only thing, so the question is usually in my thoughts, is there anything I would change? The only thing I might change on the guitar is the bridge pickup. I'm still not 100%. I like it. I'm not in love with it though. So I might switch it out for another pickup. What pickup might you say? I'll probably go with a Seymour Duncan JB. That'd probably be what I go with that pickup. But I don't know. I don't know yet. You know, to me, I've always liked the JB Jazz pickups and JB 59s in the Schecter marriage of those two, you know, kind of pickups in a Schecter guitar. To me, that has become the quintessential pickups with those guitars. When I think Seymour Duncan, I think Schecter and vice versa. So that's something to think about. So I don't know. Like I said, on that note. All right, guys, as always, I want to thank you so much for hanging out to the end of the video. I know your time is valuable, so that's why I want to thank you for it. And as always, until the next time, know your gear.